Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. It's Comic Geek McD here, and today we are talking about a spoiler review of TMNT, The Last Ronin Issue 1. Now, I know that I'm kind of late on the ball in this. I know that this has been out for a while, but because I just brought back my new YouTube channel, I kind of wanted to do this and just discuss it, especially because Issue 2 is now out now as I'm recording this. So I just kind of wanted to put in my 2 cents for this and kind of just go through this with you guys in case you're interested. So with that out of the way, I would just like to say before we get into the video, please, if you can give this video a like, if you would like to subscribe and hit that notification bell, that would be really, really appreciated. And with that, let's get into the video. So as we step into Last Ronin's first pages, we see our lone turtle standing on what seems to be the outskirts of a walled out city. Seems to be the new city of New York City. This is in a futuristic timeline, and he seems to be talking to people, and you get this vibe that he's talking to his brothers again. We do know that obviously his brothers are now gone, so but it seems to be that one of the turtles that he's actually talking to is Donatello, because they're talking about the toxicity levels and you shouldn't swim in them. And he's like, okay, if it bothers you that much, then you don't have to come with me. And they're like, well, that wherever you go, we go. And then he's like, okay, enough chit chat. And it seems that he's on a mission to scale these walls to get into the city. So as we can see in the next pages, we see the brand new city of New York City, which seems to be, like I said, a walled off city to keep either people out or to keep people in. And right bang in the middle of it seems to be what a lot of people said was what looks like Shredder's helmet, as a humongous building in the middle. Obviously, this is like a city that's taken over by Shredder or a Titan of some kind. Lots of spotlights and stuff everywhere, so it's quite interesting to see that. And then at the top left it says Last Ronin Part 1, and then down at the bottom it says Wish for Death. So as our last turtle trudges through this disgusting war, he says it's ice cold, it smells wrong, even tastes worse. For decades of pollution and global warming, that's probably what we get. It's not suitable for human survival. But he's like, that's okay because I'm not human and I've got plenty of my own nasty. Takes out 2 shuriken and throws it at the security camera. Now, as we read this as well, as he's getting a grappling hook and goes over the wall to get into the city, we realize that this is kind of, with the title of Wish for Death, this is kind of a suicidal mission for our lone turtle. He even says at the end, after he's jumping over the wall, time to finish this or die trying. So he really doesn't care whether he lives or dies, which kind of shows a lot of emotion already for this character and how he feels about himself just before even getting into everything and finding out everything. So as our last Ronin enters into the city, we can see that there's lots and lots of people everywhere, and there's bikes just outside this pub. And it says in the panel before... and we thought the Lower East Side was overcrowded before. It goes to show that there's like lots and lots of people on this. And it kind of looks like a poor part of the city itself, with the background of that Shredder-looking building in the background. And then below that you can see the spirit of his brother saying, looking over his shoulder, and he says, "Doesn't matter. The plan stays the same. I just need to get from here to there," and points towards that shadowy building. He then steals a motorbike, which goes into an actual another Easter egg, which was a lot more important than I had read the first time. I hadn't actually caught on to it. But this guy looks like he's in a gang, says, "Check it out, Jones. Some fool jacked your wheels." And she says, "Are you freaking kidding me?" And I didn't click at first, but I realized that maybe, this is Casey Jones's daughter, and she's going to play a bigger role later on. So then we see our last Ronin stealing Jones's bike and getting ahead towards his mission to get to this building. He then sees an opportunity to go over a ramp, and he has like a stick of dynamite and blows up this oil tanker just so he can explode into the air and with some luck get to a high point in the building so he can then infiltrate the building and kill whoever he's trying to get to. He then enters what looks like the rich part of the city, but there's an alarm system as he comes out of the sewer, which then puts a lot of guards to his position, and they start chasing him, and then a huge fight breaks out, and he just kind of goes non-stealthy and just has to take out these foot soldiers. And that's when we actually realize that one of these foot soldiers is not quite as robotic as we first thought. There's actually human tissue inside, as you can see, a person's eye within the actual helmet. Before our lone last Ronin just completely decapitates his head. And it kind of shows like a morbid sort of section that these foot soldiers, these cybernetic foot soldiers, are maybe part human but mostly machine. So after our last Ronin decapitates that guy's head, he then gets chased by another 2 guards. He runs on rooftops, gets onto trains, and manages to escape only just, and it gets onto an actual flying police car. Gets rid of the 2 guards and flies it basically right into where he needs to go to on the rooftop, just crashing through things. Kind of not as stealthy. You can kind of get this feeling that this last Ronin is kind of doing this plan on the fly, but also is just determined to get to that building. He obviously just wants revenge for whatever's happened. We still don't know what's happened to his brothers and how they all passed away, and Master Splinter. And and he says, this is more like it, I'm coming for you. It kind of shows that when he's running towards that building, that this mission really is the last call, that he's trying to just, whether he lives or dies, he doesn't really care. So after that, this is the time when we first see the first appearance of Oroku Hiroto. And as he's talking to his guards, we realize that this is the guy that has the massive building within the middle of the city. And as he's talking to his guards, they're telling him about this intruder. He's in the lower business section. Can we sound the alarm? And he says, yeah, furthermore, lethal force is duly authorized. Insubordinates from this lower class cannot be tolerated. Lessons must be learned from this captain. Examples must be made. And then he says, ensure that our troops have our video feeds running at all times. Just to show, everybody, the insubordinates, if they do anything within the city, swift and cruel punishment will be made. So it shows that Oroku Hiroto is somebody not to be messed with, and this is maybe our villain for this whole series, and maybe this guy is the one that our last Ronin is looking for. So we see our last Ronin running through rooftops and just thinking about Oroku Hiroto, and this is where it gets really interesting, because he says, the so-called master of the Foot Clan, Kurai's bastard son, the Shredder's grandson. So we actually find out who exactly Oroku Hiroto is and what he has done. From the day we were born, our father trained my brothers and me to fight in the war between our families, for respect and honor, for revenge. And now, after decades of murder and death, I've had enough. So after all that, you realize that Oroku Hiroto maybe had a bigger plot. It has a bigger plot towards the demise of his brothers and Master Splinter, and this is exactly why he's after him. And as he infiltrates into actually the building, he realizes that he's gonna get seen no matter what, and stealth kind of goes out of the window. So he just hops onto his motorbike that is sitting there, and just blasts inside, and a massive fight breaks out. And it's just basically him fighting hundreds and hundreds of these robotic foot soldiers, trying to get to the upper levels towards Oroku Hiroto. So as our last Ronin gets higher and higher within Hiroto's tower, we see that Hiroto actually says, incompetent fools, activate the Stockman tech. And this is where it gets really interesting as well, because now all these Mousers and all these other robots are getting activated as well. We don't actually see Stockman himself, but we do know that Hiroto has the technology of Stockman. So this fight was really, really interesting to see. And he finally, he starts fighting all these Mousers and starts going after these guys. And unfortunately, one of the big Mouser robots smashes through. It gets a tackle on our last Ronin, smashes through the window. And unfortunately, our last Ronin's plans kind of go out the window, pun intended. And he almost dies. So as our last Ronin is battered and bruised and almost to the brink of death after that massive fall from that tower window, he just feels so diminished, because he had done so much just to get his revenge on Hiroku. And he doesn't want to bring dishonor to his family. He wants to bring revenge, and he just kind of wants to be with them, and he misses them. And that really pulled on a lot of heartstrings for me to see our hero kind of fall. And unfortunately as well, he doesn't really catch a break because there's more guards still chasing him on the street level, and they're just about to get him when Jones and her gang kind of mislead them to a different direction and say, oh yeah, we saw him go that way. And then she sees the blood trail to go down, and she says, I'm going to go check out that leads into this the sewers. And that's where we see our last Ronin go into, and we don't actually know what's happening. We just see all the blood. So as of yet, we haven't actually seen Oroto like fight or anything. We don't know, if he's as powerful as Shredder or even more powerful or anything like that. But we do know that he is heavily guarded. He's up in this tower. He has the whole city on lockdown, and he's basically this titan that rules over them. And in this scene as well, he seems to be talking to somebody, and we're not entirely sure who until it gets to the bottom panels, and we actually see that his mother, Karai, is actually in like a stasis, like a cryostasis sort of chamber, and he's hugging on to it, being like, I will not dishonor the Foot Clan, and I'll kill this last turtle. So it's quite interesting to see that, because we hadn't actually known as well about Karai and what happened to her in the past. In these last ones where we see our last Ronin down in the sewer, I think this was probably the most emotional it was for me anyway within the book, because we see just how traumatic it is for our last Ronin to lose his brothers and to lose that team and his master. And as he lays down all of the bandanas that he's kept and all the weapons that his brothers used, he and his book that his father had, he just kind of wants it all to end now. He thinks that his mission is now gone, and he's gonna perform a ritual suicide called seppuku, which is kind of like a samurai ritual suicide, where like you just rip out your intestines from your stomach and stuff, and it's pretty brutal. And as he does it, Jones actually finds him and screams, "No, you can't die like this, not this way." And then we just see the end of that panel, just the heart rate going up, and then just completely flatlined. So at that moment in time, we think that maybe that our last Ronin is maybe dead. So we're just coming to the end of this, and we actually see a heart rate start going, and it seems to be like a dream sequence, or maybe this is sort of like an illusion or maybe a memory, but we see all the turtles. And in this scene as well, we actually get a really good feel of who this last turtle might be. It is confirmed in the last pages, but it's nice to see all the brothers just talking about this and what's going on, and being in the old sewer and stuff like that. And then it comes to our last Ronin waking up, seeing April, and aged April. Obviously, this is like way into the future with scars and ages and stuff like that. And you see her saying like, this last turtle says, "April, is that really you?" And she says, "Yeah, it's me." And then she says, "And I'm relieved to see you're awake. You really had me worried, mister, but who were you talking to? Michelangelo?" ? So it's kind of like, that was probably the biggest surprise for me in this book, was that it was going to be Mikey as the last Ronin. He's probably for me the most underrated. I love Mikey, he's my favorite, but I think he was the most underrated, and maybe not as sought out as a lot of people thought. It was going to be Donatello or maybe Leo. I don't think a lot of people thought it was going to be Raph, just because of how hot-headed he could be. But to see this was really quite intense, and I just can't wait for the issue 2, which is now out as I record this. So when I get that in the mail as well, I'm going to do another review in this, probably spoilers as well. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for staying with me. If you stayed with me this long, it really means a lot. If you can please press that like button, I would really appreciate it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content, and subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me, and I really hope you enjoyed this. So as always, guys, I'll just see you in the next one.